Good afternoon. This is Stan Schumacher, Deputy Speaker and member of the Legislative Assembly for Drumheller. The business today will see the introduction of Métis settlement bills. There's a package of those. And the business after the question period will be second reading of various government measures. At 5 o'clock this afternoon, there will be something that doesn't happen every day. The Lieutenant Governor will attend on the Assembly to give royal assent to about 7 bills that have passed third reading and are now ready for the final step in the legislative process. Let us pray. As Canadians and as Albertans, we give thanks for the precious gifts of freedom and peace which we enjoy. As members of this Legislative Assembly, we rededicate ourselves to the valued traditions of parliamentary democracy as a means of serving our province and our country. Amen.
Introduction of visitors.
The Honourable Deputy Premier.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased today to introduce to you and through you to members of the Assembly His Excellency Brian Fall, who is the High Commissioner to Canada from the United Kingdom. He is accompanied today by his wife and by Mr. Peter Johnstone, the Consul General for the province of Alberta. They are seated in your gallery. I would ask that they rise and receive a warm welcome of this Assembly.
Presenting petitions. Reading and receiving petitions. Presenting reports by standing and special committees. Notices of motions. Introduction of bills.
The Honourable the Attorney General.
Mr. Speaker, I request leave to introduce Bill number 33, Métis Settlements Accord Implementation Act. This act being a money bill, Her Honour the Honourable Lieutenant Governor, having been informed of the contents of this bill, recommends the same to the Assembly. Mr. Speaker, this bill provides legislation providing for the implementation of the Financial and Transition Commission elements of the Alberta Métis Settlements Accord.
The Honourable the Attorney General has moved first reading of Bill number 33, Métis Settlement Accord Implementation Act. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 33, Métis Settlements Accord Implementation Act, introduced by the Honourable Mr. Rostad, is now read a first time.
The Honourable the Attorney General.
Mr. Speaker, I also seek leave to introduce Bill number 36, Constitution of Alberta Amendment Act 1990. Bill 36 is legislation that will amend the Constitution of Alberta to protect the ownership of the Métis land by the Métis Settlements General Council. On until such further time as protection in the Constitution of Canada can be achieved.
Having heard the motion, the Honourable Attorney General for first reading of Bill number 36, Constitution of Alberta Amendment Act 1990. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 36, Constitution of Alberta Amendment Act 1990, introduced by the Honourable Mr. Rostad, is now read a first time.
The Honourable Member for Athabasca-Lac-La-Biche.
Mr. Speaker, I request leave to introduce a bill being the Métis Settlement Land Protection Act, Bill 34. Anoche ko ham ka pasigoyan. Auna nigana vote aka kwitsamak. Mstahimitin. Omoya suweon. Mas nahigan. Stumta na uneusa pitas nahigatik. Otinigan. Tans titapat takaski. Tans abitawgosanag min. Aski kausip mbaita masoto. Tans otinigan kausip matsto. This bill ratifies and confirms the letters patent which grant the lands in fee simple to the Métis Settlements General Council. The Act places into legal framework the dream long held by the Métis Settlements of securing a land base in Alberta.
Having heard the motion by the Honourable Member for Athabasca-Lac-La-Biche for first reading of Bill number 34, Métis Settlement Land Protection Act, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? So ordered.
Bill number 34, Métis Settlements Land Protection Act, introduced by the Honourable Member Mr. Cardinal, is now read a first time.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I would seek unanimous consent of members of the Assembly in order that the Honourable Member for Lesser Slave Lake may proceed with the introduction of a money bill which requires unanimous consent of the members of the Assembly in order for a member who is not a member of Executive Council to move such a bill.
Does the Assembly agree with the request of the Honourable Government House Leader? Agree. Opposed? So ordered. The Honourable Member for Lesser Slave Lake.
Mr. Speaker, as a Métis, it is indeed a great honour to beg leave to introduce Bill 35, the Métis Settlements Act, an act which is the first of its kind in Canada. This is an important day for the people of Alberta, and particularly the Métis people of Alberta. Mr. Speaker, Bill 35 establishes the framework required to develop a unique form of Métis local government in Alberta. The General Council, 8 Métis settlement corporations, and an appeals tribunal will be established under this bill. The Métis Settlements Act places within the legislative framework the principles outlined in Resolution 18 and the implementation of Resolution 18, and is a testament to the benefits to be gained through consultation and cooperation.
Having heard the motion by the Honourable Member for Lesser Slave Lake for first reading of Bill number 35, Métis Settlement Act, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. So ordered.
Bill number 35, Métis Settlements Act, introduced by the Honourable Member Ms. Callaghan, is now read a first time.
The Honourable Minister of Culture and Multiculturalism.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg leave to introduce a bill, Bill number 50, the Cultural Heritage Amendment Act, 1990. Mr. Speaker, this legislation flows from the report of the Multicultural Commission, focused for the 90s. It includes a new preamble and objectives to more reflect current thinking on the issues of multiculturalism and to set the tone for our new policy direction and programs. There are also changes in the contact points between government and the public. The Multicultural Commission will be expanded, doubled in size to give a better representation of our diversity in population, and as well a new Alberta Multicultural Advisory Council will seek input from various sectors of society, including personnel, health, education, law enforcement, and so on, to take our multicultural policies beyond ethnicity and to make multiculturalism a concept for all Albertans.
The Honourable Minister of Cultural and Multiculturalism has moved first reading of Bill number 50, Cultural Heritage Amendment Act 1990. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 50, Alberta Cultural Heritage Amendment Act 1990, introduced by the Honourable Mr. Main, is now read a first time.
The Honourable Member for Calgary-Glenmore.
Mr. Speaker, I request leave to introduce Bill 44, the Dental Disciplines Act. This act encompasses the dental hygienists, the dental assistants, and the dental technicians, all under one act to give them self-governing. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Calgary-Glenmore has moved first reading of Bill number 44, Dental Disciplines Act. All those in favor of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 44, Dental Disciplines Act, introduced by the Honourable Member Mrs. Myrosh, is now read a first time.
Speaker, I move that Bills 34, 35, and Bill 44 be placed on the order paper and the Government Bills and Orders.
The Honourable Minister of Advanced Education has, having heard the motion of the Honourable Minister of Advanced Education, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Tabling returns and reports.
With the Legislative Assembly today, the annual report for 1989-90 of the Association of Professional Engineers, Geologists, and Geophysicists of Alberta.
The Honourable Associate Minister of Agriculture.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to table with the Assembly the annual report of the Alberta Research Institute for the year ending March 31st, 1989.
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Speaker, they're in my office. I'll table them tomorrow. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Cypress Redcliffe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to table the annual report of the Alberta Water Resources Commission for the year 1988-89.
Ministerial statements.
The Honourable the Attorney General.
I believe it's introduction of special guests.
Special guest.
Thank you for the recognition anyways. Mr. Speaker, in March of '87, at the First Ministers' Conference on Aboriginal Rights, Premier Getty stated that the government of Alberta was committed to implementing initiatives that would lead to proper government, local government for Métis people, and that these initiatives would be placed in legislation. In signing the Métis Alberta Settlements Accord in July of '89, Premier again committed that this legislation would be introduced prior to July 1st, 1990. Of course, as with any history-making event in the province, it's the people involved that make it possible. And the guests that I am about to introduce have put in long, hard hours in developing the flexible, innovative, made-in-Alberta approaches to proper local government and the acquisition of a land base that you will find in the bills introduced today. It gives me great pleasure to introduce in your gallery to you and to the Assembly the Executive of the Alberta Federation of Métis Settlement Associations, the President, Mr. Randy Hardy, the Vice President, Mr. Alan Lamouche, the Secretary, Mr. Richard Patois, the Treasurer, Mr. Walter Anderson. I would also like to introduce Mr. Larry DeMills, the President of the Métis Association of Alberta. I'd ask that they all stand and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
member for Athabasca-Lac-La-Biche.
Mr. Speaker, it's also a pleasure for me to introduce to you and through you to the Assembly the Métis Settlement Chairman and representatives in attendance here today to witness this historic event for Métis people in Canada. Dawitin takskimai go tahanigistamaguigo. Uikio motiotak kagipi atoskatamik. Kaya sohtimihtit kihtieg mingipi atoskatamak. Tan sote abihtogusanak nigan gawis pitsigito. Anohtigo kwa bahtino kita toskiwinno. Tan sispai go tinigan. Mstaisnagon daho abihtogusanak mamotoskito. Ogumana kastu itatuskimato. Nigan gistelogisuaskawano. The representatives of the settlements, Mr. Speaker, have been instrumental in developing a process that has resulted in the needs and aspirations of the settlement members being reflected in the new Métis settlement legislation. As an essential part of the consultation process, their ability to express the views of the settlement members ensured that the legislation addressed the principles set out in Resolution 18. Mr. Speaker, I would like to ask the settlement chairman and representatives who are here today to stand and receive recognition of this assembly.
The honourable member for Lesser Slave Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is my pleasure today to take this opportunity to honor the founding fathers of the Alberta Federation of Métis Settlement Associations. I feel it is important for us to recognize their contributions during the long journey towards achieving the protection of a Métis land base in Alberta. It is with the greatest respect that I ask the Assembly to extend its recognition and appreciation to the surviving members of the Founding Fathers, Mr. Richard Poitras and Mr. Lawrence Desjardins, who are in attendance today, as well as Mr. Maurice Laurendale, who was unable to be here. I would also like to ask the Assembly to pay its respects to the Founding Fathers who, unfortunately, could not be with us today to witness the realization of their dreams, Adrian Hope and Sam Johnston. It is also worthy to note that in this assembly that we have a person of Métis distinction, our Sergeant of Arms. I'd also like to recognize him. I now ask Mr. Desjardins and Mr. Poitras to stand and receive the warm welcome and the recognition they so deserve from this assembly.
Minister of Telecommunications, Research and Technology.
Mr. Speaker, there is no better way to celebrate Science and Technology Week than to recognize some young honorary citizens of Science City. And I had the opportunity to visit with them earlier this afternoon. These are future scientists, Mr. Speaker, future engineers, future technologists, and they have achieved a standard of national excellence. It's a great pleasure to introduce them to you and through you to all the members of the Assembly. These are the Alberta medal winners in the Canada Science Fair competition recently held in Windsor. And as they are introduced, I would ask each to rise and remain standing. Firstly, a gold winner, Arthur Chan from Fort McMurray. Silver winners, Faisal Kamali from Edmonton. Shell Wooding from Calgary. Sri Chowdhury from Calgary. Tarek Ramtula from Calgary. And bronze medal winners, Jason Clifford from Rimbey, Alan Welge from Calgary, David Petch, Fort McMurray, Kent Signorini, Grimshaw, Ali Ramtula from Calgary, Robin Pynchon from Okotoks. And unable to join us today is Bonds winner Tim Wong of Lethbridge. But also ask their escorts to rise while we communicate our congratulations to all these very important citizens of Science City.
The honourable member for Redwater, Andrew.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, since it's also an important day today in Alberta for multiculturalism, and Multicultural Commission has been meeting today, and I would like to introduce to you some of the members of the Commission. They're the ones that have had the input into focus for the 90s and multiculturalism for the 90s and beyond, a new direction, and I'd like to introduce them to you and to the Assembly. Firstly, the Vice Chairman of the Commission, Oris Delinik. Members Helen Yell, Laurent Lamoureux, Assistant Deputy Minister Manuel de Costa, and Assistant Kathy Finlayson. They are seated in the members' gallery, and I ask they rise and, in the public gallery, and I ask they rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
The Honourable Minister of Culture and Multiculturalism.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd also like to introduce to you and to other members of the Assembly Mr. Uwe Welts, a gentleman who's been very active in multicultural affairs around the city of Edmonton, a member of the German-Canadian Business Association, a member of the Alberta Cultural Heritage Council, and who is currently serving my ministry as the chairman of a transition team, which is helping us design the new Alberta Multicultural Advisory Council, which is a component of legislation just introduced today. I should also mention, coincidentally, that Mr. Welts is a constituent of the great constituency of Edmonton Park Allen. He's standing in the members' gallery, asking him to rise to his full height and receive the warm applause of the
Honourable Member for Smoky River.
Speaker, I'd too like to take this opportunity to introduce a very special person from the Smoky River constituency, a person who serves on the Grand Prairie College Board, a very successful businessman, and most of all, the mayor of Sexsmith. It's my pleasure to introduce Ralph Beliski. If you'd rise and to be delegates of the...
Now a member for Edmonton Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have in the public gallery a group of 10 students from a very special program called the Edmonton Academy here in Edmonton Centre. They're with their teachers, Mrs. Donna Machinsky and Mr. Richard Wilson. I'd ask that they please rise and receive the welcome from the members here today. Thank you.
Now a member for Lesser Slave Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's not often I get to speak 3 times in a row. I would like to introduce to you and to the members of the Assembly 13 students from Atikamekw Sovereign School in Atikamekw who are traveling on their way throughout Alberta. They are accompanied by their teacher, Mr. David Sikora, and Ms. Lillian Noski, and with their bus driver, Ted Patterson. I would ask that they rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Honourable Member for Calgary Foothills.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of my colleague, the member from Calgary Montrose, the Honourable Minister of Energy, it is with great pleasure that I introduce to you and to members of the Assembly 87 students from the Clarence Sampson's Community School. They are accompanied today by their teachers, Jean Lee, Valerie White, Joan Stuntz, and parent Ingrid Barnes. They're seated in both the members and public galleries, and I'd ask that they all rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
The Honourable Member for Smoky River.
Speaker, it is also my privilege to introduce 30 young and enterprising young children from the Rosedale Christian School in Crooked Creek. They are accompanied by their teacher, Mr. Ben Ginter, and their parents, Irvin Claussens, Willard Taves, Aidan Claussens, and Mark Priesens. And I would ask them to rise They're seated in the public gallery, and I'd ask them to rise and meet the accords of the House.
Ministerial statements.
The Honorable Attorney General.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the decorum and the time that the House has given to this occasion today. On June 3rd, 1985, almost 5 years ago, this Assembly unanimously passed Resolution 18. Resolution 18 committed the province of Alberta to the transfer of Métis settlements lands to Métis people. During the 1987 First Ministers' Conference on Aboriginal Rights, Premier Getty stated the government of Alberta accepted the responsibility for its Métis people. He told the conference that native self-government was desirable, but not possible until the concept was defined. Premier Getty outlined our Made in Alberta approach to self-determination for our Métis people. Mr. Speaker, on June 17, 1987, I tabled before the Assembly a document called Implementation of Resolution 18. It was the product of an intense discussion process between the Government of Alberta and the Alberta Federation of Métis Settlements Associations, a federation which has a clear electoral mandate to enter into such an agreement with our government. That document set out the principles and guidelines to be used in working towards a realization of Resolution 18. I commend the association, its president Randy Hardy, and his executive for their persistence and dedication to the process. On July 5, 1988, Bills 64 and 65 were introduced. They provided the framework for a system of democratic government and a mechanism for land transfer and its protection in the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, a significant breakthrough occurred at that time. A bond of trust was established between the Premier and Randy Hardy. Also, the Métis Association of Alberta endorsed the work of the Federation. This was a significant achievement in itself, Métis unity on a form of self-determination. Mr. Speaker, the result of many hours of discussion has been Métis self-determination, a mechanism to provide for self-sufficiency and a form of local government. But it was evident that a financial package would be necessary to achieve this Métis self-sufficiency. The Alberta Métis Settlements Accord, signed on July 1, 1989, by the Premier and the Federation, set out a political commitment to such a package, together with an implementation process which would also extinguish the long-standing lawsuit between the Federation and the government. Mr. Speaker, the 4 bills introduced today are the culmination of a unique Made in Alberta process that demonstrates the immeasurable value of what a provincial government and native governments can achieve when there's a will to work together through consultation and cooperation. I am proud, Mr. Speaker, that this government has been able to respond to the wishes and aspirations of the Métis in Alberta. Many of the principles that are realized in legislation today are unique to the Métis settlements, but I believe the Métis settlements in our government have set a benchmark that will guide the future development of local native governments in Alberta and across Canada. I ask all members in the Assembly to join with me in making this realization come true. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Highlands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The ministerial statement today is important because, as what was underlined in that statement, Alberta is in a unique situation in Canada, intended to give a solid land base to some Métis people in Alberta, a principle that the New Democrats support. But, Mr. Speaker, I think we need to reserve our right to look at the legislation in detail to ensure that the principles outlined in the statement are indeed met by the legislation, and if not, that amendments to that effect could be considered and debated. For example, Mr. Speaker, we want to be sure that Aboriginal rights have been handled properly in the context of these bills. In the past, we've wanted to ensure that the long-standing lawsuit between the province and the Métis settlements would not have to be jeopardized by the adoption of these bills. The price for this legislation apparently is that the lawsuit be dropped, and we understand that that has met with agreement from the Métis settlements. We trust and hope that history will judge that decision to be a wise one, Mr. Speaker. After all, I think what is very clear, and a principle shared by all members of the Assembly, is that we're all working towards a new relationship for the future, a relationship that we want to be a just and honorable one. So, Mr. Speaker, it is our sincere hope that these bills today will meet that test. Thank you.
Order, please. Before calling oral question period, would the Assembly give unanimous consent to reverting to tabling returns and reports for one moment? Agreed? Opposed? So ordered. The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
My apologies, Mr. Speaker. I would like to table with the House the answer to, or motion for return 173 in the answer to written question 260. Thank you.
Oral question period.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Alberta Government Telephones has served the people of Alberta for decades now. It's been an important public asset in the world of natural monopolies in utilities. It's also been a revenue generator and a leader in technological advancements, Mr. Speaker. Ultimately, there is no question that AGT has served its mandate and the people of Alberta. My question to the Premier is this: what assurances can the Premier give the people of our province that this government will not piratize or privatize this important, valuable public asset?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Acting Leader of the Opposition should not try and prejudge what may happen, but wait for events to unfold.
You sound like Pierre Trudeau.
Yeah, right. Mr. Speaker, I may only have been a member of this Assembly for 4 years and a couple of weeks, but I know enough about Conservatives to know that when they say Alberta Government Telephones Reorganization Act, Mr. Speaker, that is a euphemism for AGT privatization.
Shame.
And my question then is to the Minister of Technology, Research and Telecommunications, who I suspect would like to sell off the people's assets, assets owned by all people of Alberta for now, to a handful of Albertans, and ask him if it is intention to do so, and if so, why.
Mr. Speaker, I believe the Premier answered the question very, very well.
Oh, what a cop-out.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I can always count on the provincial treasurer for a lengthy answer. So perhaps I'll ask this question to the provincial treasurer, Mr. Speaker. Provincial treasurer knows that AGT is an income-generating asset owned by all the people of Alberta, serving its mandate. Will he now admit that the reason this AGT is being contemplated for sale from everybody's ownership to the ownership of a few is to cover up the financial bungling that he himself has conducted over the last 4 years, from the time we had no deficit to the time we've got an $11 billion debt?
That's right.
Speaker, that's almost inviting debate, but I would simply say not only was the Premier's answer great, it was quintessential.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Highlands.
Scared, huh? Mr. Speaker, I'd like to designate the second question to the member for Calgary Mountain View.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The provincial treasurer has said over and over that Alberta Treasury branches operate at arm's length from government. The treasurer makes this claim in spite of the fact that in the case of Palm Dairies, for example, Mr. Peter Pocklington got a Treasury branch loan to cover 100% of the purchase price of Palm Dairies, plus an operating line of credit on top of it. From where Albertans sit, they see the Treasury branches being misused to help out friends of the government, like Mr. Pocklington. Will the provincial treasurer now confirm, Mr. Speaker, that the Treasury branches were also extensively involved in the $55 million loan to Peter Pocklington's Gainers companies?
Mr. Speaker, I was going off on palm dairies and suddenly was switched to Treasury branch loan. Maybe the member might just repeat the question for me.
I'd like the provincial treasurer to confirm that the Treasury branches were also extensively involved in the $55 million loan to Peter Pocklington's Gainers companies.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we have a policy that is very clear and one which I have outlined, and not just in many occasions, but also this morning, that when it comes to Treasury branch operations, we will not disclose what happens to the clients. That's a sacred trust, and anyone who deals in a financial institution wants to know that their business is in fact protected. But what I will say, and make the exception only today, that the Treasury branch did not advance any money of the $55 million to Mr. Pocklington or the Gainers.
Mr. Speaker, July 17th of last year in the Assembly, provincial treasurer said the Treasury branches played no role in the $67 million bailout of Mr. Pocklington's Gainers companies. I'd like to file copies this afternoon of what I understand to be excerpts of the government's master agreement with Mr. Pocklington. Contrary to the provincial treasurer's statements, the Treasury branches were involved. In this document, they are identified as a holder of the security Mr. Pocklington provided. Will the provincial treasurer finally quit maintaining a fiction, come clean, and admit the Treasury branches were a financial institution deeply involved in the Pocklington bailout?
Again, Mr. Speaker, what I have said, because it is the fact, the Treasury branch did not provide any of the $55 million loan advance. And that's the fact, Mr. Speaker.
Well, Mr. Speaker, provincial treasurer is very careful in his statements. But since the government got involved with Peter Pocklington, what he's done is stonewalled and turned down legitimate requests for information about how the taxpayers' dollars were misused in support of this friend. Will the provincial treasurer, when will he reveal to Albertans the whole story about government involvement in this massive giveaway of taxpayers' money and table the entire master agreement?
Tell us, Dick. Mr. Speaker, as I've said in this House many times before, if the opposition wasn't just fishing for information and knew how to conduct their research, they would be better informed. It's taken them a year and a half to struggle through the paper and to come up with some kind of a weak approach to what's happened here. Let me repeat again that the Treasury branch did not advance money to Gainers, were not involved in $55 million loan consolidation, Mr. Speaker, and therefore I stand by that answer. But what I must go on to say, Mr. Speaker, is that the reason the government is very careful about what it's doing with the information is, as I've said repeatedly, that the province of Alberta is suing Mr. Pocklington right now under a variety of actions, both on behalf of the government, on behalf of Gainers, and those actions are now progressing through the courts. I've said again and repeatedly that we had to seize the assets of Gainers. That was taken back because the loan was in default. We have now initiated action on behalf of taxpayers and behalf of the company itself to secure what we consider to be a claim against, pursue a claim against Mr. Pocklington, the former shareholder. And again, thirdly, I've indicated we will be launching additional actions against Mr. Pocklington. That doesn't seem to me, Mr. Speaker, to be anything that's hiding the facts, because we are specifically using the court system to pursue our claim, and the court system will adjudicate what has happened, and the court system will make public information when necessary. My lawyers have advised us, the government, to be very careful about what is said in this assembly because it could prejudice the government's position.
The honourable member for Edmonton Glengarry, leader of the Liberals.
Mr. Speaker, the speech from the throne made much of the new environmental legislation that the government intended to introduce. This was to show the greening of the provincial government. Unfortunately, there aren't even tiny little green spots that one can attribute to the government. People in Alberta have become alarmed because of a number of events at the attitude and the commitment to the environment that the government has. My first question to the Minister of Environment is this. We note that the new legislation finally makes the list of notices, but will the Minister give us the exact timetable of when this new legislation, this new environmental legislation will be introduced, particularly dealing with the Resources Conservation Board that is intended to be set up, and when it is expected and intended that the vote to conclude this matter will take place?
Well, I'm not sure, Mr. Speaker, whether the honourable leader of the Liberal Party is referring to the NRCB or the Environmental Protection and Enhancement Act, both of which hopefully will come to this Assembly in the not-too-distant future. With respect to the Environmental Protection and Enhancement Act, I think that he's going to find this very exciting legislation, very futuristic legislation that is not only going to consolidate a number of laws and strengthen those laws, but to lay out for Albertans an environmental agenda that will take us through this decade and into the next century. And I would just advise the honourable leader of the Liberal Party to be patient, because good things are coming, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, perhaps the honourable minister didn't hear my question. The question is, give us a timetable. The cynicism that Albertans have towards this government and its commitment to the environment is that this whole process of new legislation will be delayed so as to allow ALPAC to sneak by without any kind of proper review. When will the timetable end for both of these new flagship acts?
Well, with respect to the NRCB, that legislation is expected to come forward very soon. With respect to the Environmental Protection and Enhancement Act, I've stated publicly on many occasions, Mr. Speaker, that this act, because it's such an important act, and that it requires so much public involvement, will be the subject of a full public consultation process that started first with the mission statement. The comments of the public are being taken into account. When that act is tabled in draft form, certainly not as a bill, it will then be taken out again for public consultation. And we'll say, look at folks, this is what you've told us through the mission statement. Are we still on the right track? Are we setting ourselves the proper agenda? And when we're satisfied that there has been full and complete public consultation because of the importance of the legislation, we will then draft a final bill and hopefully bring that bill back in the spring of 1991 for final passage.
Mr. Speaker, I get the impression that there's a clear attempt to keep avoiding and delaying. Wait, you're going to be excited. Well, this legislative assembly has gone on for a long time, and we've not seen any action on the so-called flagship legislation. My last question to the minister is this. No matter where the legislation is in the process of debate or introduction on both counts, both acts, will the minister commit that there will be no decision made with respect to the second proposal of ALPAC until both of these acts are firmly in place and concluded?
Mr. Speaker, the legislation sets an environmental agenda and in no way relates to a specific project, and that project has already gone through a very, very extensive public review process. A new proposal has been submitted, as I explained in this assembly yesterday. The Department of Environment in Alberta has reviewed the new revised proposal. We're waiting for the federal government to do the same, and when those two thoughts come together and we've had a chance to consult with our federal counterparts, then we will decide at that time as a government how to proceed with that particular project. But it in no way, Mr. Speaker, relates to the legislation. The legislation is a consolidation of 9 or 10 laws. It's a document that will form an agenda and map out a road to take us into the future in terms of protecting and enhancing our environment. It's much, much bigger, Mr. Speaker, than just one project. It's much, much bigger than a single issue. It is so big that perhaps someday the honorable leader of the Liberal Party will be able to understand it. It might take him a long time.
The honourable member for Banff Cochrane.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, all members of this Assembly are well aware of all of the time and the effort that the Honourable Premier has been putting into the matter of the Meech Lake Accord. Through his discussions with the Prime Minister, Senator Murray, and all of the other provincial leaders. I heard today that it appears that Premier Wells' position on the Quebec issue in general and especially the Distinct Society Clause may be softening, and that may lead to genuine progress in this issue. And my question, therefore, is to the Premier. Is this information correct, Premier, and do you see genuine progress being made?
Yeah. I suppose, Mr. Speaker, that members of this Assembly would feel like I do, that there's probably no greater cause that we could have or challenge we could have than seeing our country become a great nation, and knowing, too, that the only way that it can do that is to be united. That unity is being challenged right now, as the honourable member for Banff Cochrane is mentioning. And over the past several days, week, we've been working very hard amongst First Ministers and governments to see if we can solve the constitutional impasse that faces Canada right now. Over the past several days, I've spoken with several times with Premier Wells, with Premier Philman, several times with Premier Barassa, Premier Devine, Premier Peterson, and officials of the federal government and the Prime Minister. What is being attempted is to try and find some way to make sure that our constitutional accord proceeds, Meech Lake proceeds, and yet if there is some way to bring those who are currently not supporting it to a position where they can. Premier Wells talked to me just shortly before coming into the Assembly, and I think he is making very honest attempts to try and reconcile his province's concerns about the Meech Lake Accord with some means of being able to support it. The focus now is on what form any addition or companion piece of agreement or accord would take. As you can imagine, if it's going to be a constitutional accord, that would have to pass through 10 provincial legislatures, the House of Commons, and the Senate by June 23rd. And members here can understand the complications of trying to do that, particularly with something as sensitive and yet as important as constitutional amendments. Or the other form that we might consider would be something that Alberta has been suggesting, as well as looking with an open mind on the constitutional accord, would be some type of declaration of trust or declaration of commitment to principles that all 11 First Ministers might sign that would conduct us in our second round of constitutional negotiations, and be a commitment and embody in that document some of the principles that would allow us to meet the concerns of those First Ministers who don't now support the accord. Well, all of this discussion is going on, and I can only say that we understand as First Ministers how important our discussions are, and I think there's a growing awareness amongst Canadians of the importance of the Meech Lake Accord, and a growing awareness that they want the First Ministers to solve the problem and not have us contemplating the potential destroying of our nation after June 23rd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it appears to me that the issue of Senate reform, an issue that's been championed by
Alberta throughout the entire Meats Lake process is the main issue on the table at this point in time, the very issue of equality of provinces. And my question is to the Premier. Would the Premier agree with that analysis, and does he see a solution to this issue?
Mr. Speaker, it's quite a remarkable fact that while it's been lonely over the years, being the government of Alberta, myself as Premier, promoting Senate reform, that within the last several weeks, perhaps a month, there has been a greater and greater attention to this very important part of constitutional reform. While Alberta, with the Honourable Deputy Premier, Minister of Federal Intergovernmental Affairs, and a task force, have crossed this province, while we have promoted Senate reform at every possible opportunity at Premiers' conferences and First Ministers' conferences, it's now obvious that the entire nation, our entire nation, is starting to recognize the importance of this feature. And I can only confirm to the Honourable Member for Banff-Cochrane that the matter of Senate reform and strong equal provinces is now probably the single most important issue that we have to deal with in order to pull together the entire constitutional accord that faces us now and bring together all of the provinces of Canada. I hope, Mr. Speaker, and I must say right now, although I've talked about all the work that's going on, I must say I am not optimistic. I am not optimistic, Mr. Speaker, that this is going to be an easy task at all. It's a difficult task, but I am very proud of the fact that the government of Alberta is leading the way in this matter.
For Edmonton Avonmore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My questions are to the Attorney General. Many doctors fear that the new abortion legislation will make them targets for private criminal charges. The Attorney General has indicated that his department has a policy of not allowing private prosecutions and that third-party action would be prosecuted through the Attorney General's department. My question is, inasmuch as the legislation requires interpretation as to whether a physician has used accepted standards in determining whether the health of a woman seeking an abortion was in jeopardy, on what basis will the prosecutors in the Attorney General's department be making these medical judgments?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member must understand the procedure. The Attorney General of any province is charged with the administration of justice within that province, and through that authority, Crown prosecutors are agents of the Crown. If a person, a private individual, has reason or cause and comes forward and lays an information or brings a complaint to an investigative body, it's looked at. If on the basis of that investigation, and of course being founded on the section of the criminal law held supposedly in breach, a prosecution would be brought forward by the Crown. That policy has been existent in Alberta for time immemorial, that private prosecutions are not allowed.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I understand the process. The concern is that prosecutors in the Attorney General's department will be having to make medical judgments or judgments as to whether appropriate medical practice has been in place. And that's the difficulty. I would then ask the Attorney General, will he commit to providing guidelines to prosecutors to assist them in deciding whether to proceed with charges and making these guidelines available to the Alberta Medical Association, because it is the doctors as well as women who fear frivolous prosecution.
Speaker, the Crown prosecutor never makes the determination on medical procedures or anything else. There's investigative bodies of various sorts that make determinations on facts, on evidence, as to whether there is a possibility of a legal case being brought forward and being adjudicated by the courts. that will continue to happen. And I think we're being a bit speculative on trying to develop an answer on something that, first of all, is not law yet, and even if was, each circumstance will be handled on the basis of that circumstance.
The honourable member for Edmonton Whitemud.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am tabling a letter sent to the minister responsible for multiculturalism from the Alberta Heritage Council. In addition, I'm tabling a speech delivered by Phil Fraser, Chairman of the Human Rights Commission. Mr. Chairman, the Alberta Heritage Council has taken objection to some of the statements made by Mr. Fraser. My question, Mr. Speaker, to the minister responsible for multiculturalism: what specific action has the minister taken in response to the concerns expressed by the Alberta Heritage Council?
Mr. Speaker, I've heard from the Alberta Cultural Heritage Council on their concerns, and I have expressed to them, as I will to the House, that Mr. Fraser does not speak for the government on matters of multiculturalism.
Mr. Speaker, my second question to the Minister of Multiculturalism: has the minister had any discussions with the minister responsible for the Human Rights Commission as to whether the chairman has compromised his effectiveness in fulfilling his role as chairman of the commission?
Well, Mr. Speaker, conversations between the Minister of Labour and myself, of course, would be of a confidential nature, but in answer to the question, no.
The honourable member for Calgary-Milliken.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in '87 we had an issue of the Alberta capital bonds, which I guess Albertans all over this province bought, including some of my own constituents. I guess it's very successful. And mind you, since 1987, our prophets of doom and gloom over here have kept prophesizing doom and gloom. But with the issue of the 1990 capital bonds, could you advise us if you have any preliminary information on how the sale of our 1990 Alberta capital bonds are going?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the 1990 campaign, Mr. Speaker, ended officially on May 26th, and I think Albertans certainly signaled their faith in the future of this province, and you make the right comments. They have an optimistic view. They believe in the investments in the province and in the government. And Mr. Speaker, the number is 707. $707 million for the capital bonds, Mr. Speaker.
Well, Mr. Speaker, as one of the hecklers mentioned there, I guess it has a 1% better rate. It's a very good rate. But some of my constituents have raised some concerns now regarding they have the 1987 bonds, and they mature here in June, but the deadline, as I understand, for the 1990 bonds are May the 26th. Some of the constituents would like to roll those over and get in on, but the 26th is gone. Is the provincial treasurer going to do something to assist these people who have the previous bonds, roll these over in for a better, and get in on the 1990 bonds because they want to participate? Oh, and would you call on me later for a point of order, please, Mr. Speaker?
I hope the point of order wasn't directed to me, Mr. Mr. Speaker, I must apologize. I think when we were selling the 1990 bond issue, Mr. Speaker, it seems that people who had the 1987 issue come to maturity on June the 1st did not realize that they had to do something to roll those bonds in the 1990 issue. And the member is correct, and other colleagues have come to me indicating that the 1987 bondholders feel that they lost a few days in terms of the rollover. What I would like to recommend to my colleagues in caucus is that the government extend the closing deadline for 1987 bonds into June somewhat. Now, I'm being somewhat vague here because I haven't got all the details down, but I think it's important to allow that 87 bondholders to roll them over because it's the end of a bond issue. And secondly, Mr. Speaker, we would have to ensure that there were 87 rollovers only for the same person and the same denomination. But I can confirm today, Mr. Speaker, for the member, that we will extend the date for the rollover of 1987 bonds into this very popular, successful 1990 bond issue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As long as a year ago, the Minister of Economic Development and Trade stated that the government was pulling back its financial involvement in the private sector. However, Mr. Speaker, we see that the Minister seems to have made an exception of Ski Free Marine Incorporated, a company that makes unmanned, remote-controlled, jet-powered watercraft to pull water skiers. This company received $3.5 million in loan guarantees, $1.5 million of it just recently in January. Plus, the Treasury branch has just agreed to a 3-month interest abatement. Well, my question to the Minister is, how does he justify this extension of loan guarantee to such a ridiculous enterprise?
Mr. Speaker, as the Provincial Treasurer indicated earlier, the transactions with Treasury branch and individual companies are within the jurisdiction of those two partners, and we cannot respond or offer advice as to what might happen there. As it relates to our involvement, yes, we are involved with an export loan guarantee and backing of Ski Free Marine because they are a very unique company in Calgary. Presently, they have some orders for 390 ski-free watercraft representing some $2 million worth of sales. They are going through some difficulties. We are going to do some work as it relates to restructuring, but to indicate that we're going to offer additional support is completely untrue.
I didn't say you were offering additional support. In fact, that's my next question, but I'll just put a couple other points in between. No, this government has lots of money when it comes to its friends, like Peter Pocklington, General Systems Research, and now Ski Free Marine. But how come this government can't find the money when it comes to easing caseloads for social workers, or quality daycare, or post-secondary education? Now, my question to this minister is, how much more good money are you going to throw after bad to such a frivolous enterprise?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member consistently and on every occasion forgets the good work that we have done for the small business community with our capital loan guarantee program, with our interest shielding, with the interest shielding that we have for the farming community. We can go on, Mr. Speaker, and he picks out the occasional company that we do encounter some difficulties with. And this is one of the occasions whereby they are experiencing difficulties. We are working with them to restructure some of their debt, as has been indicated in the press release by Ski Free, recognizing the unique nature of this company and the exportation of this product, which creates jobs in Calgary. And I'm happy at another time, recognizing your instruction earlier, to go through with the honourable member the multitude of programs that we have for everyday Albertans within this province so that we continue with the economic growth that we've experienced over the last number of years.
The honourable member for Calgary Buffalo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a question for the Attorney General. Mr. Speaker, delays in youth and family court in Calgary and Edmonton have become intolerable, with juveniles waiting, often in custody, 6 or 7 months for trial dates. Young people are actually pleading guilty when they have defenses in order to avoid the delay. Over the past 6 years, youth and family court charges have gone up about 50%. Yes, 50%, Mr. Speaker. And cases have become more complex because of the charter, yet funding in Calgary and Edmonton has gone up in the range of 20% or so. I'm wondering whether the minister will undertake some quick action to deal with this scandalous problem, which is denying quick justice to our young offenders and treating them in many cases more harshly than adult offenders.
Mr. Speaker, I will acknowledge that there are some difficulties in getting quick access to courts in Calgary. That's a recent occurrence, a 2-month delay, which is panacea in comparison to the rest of Alberta, has recently, and I say recently, slipped to 5 to a 6 month period. That's not to cast it off. That's a very, very serious problem. But the young offender offenses have 100% increase since the 86 year. We have an initial report, but I found it not have adequate information. We were trying to analyze as to what is happening in this area, and I don't think that there's a quick fix. Appointing a number of judges or building brand new courtrooms is not in itself the fix. In fact, I'd refer the member and his leader to the great campaign of flipping the wallet around, and it seems that since the election and that time, that now it's just spend, spend, spend. I undertake the honourable member's representations to give him and this assembly an analysis, and to do that as quickly as possible.
Well, talking about spend, 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 since the government had money to build a Taj Mahal of a courthouse in Medicine Hat with fountains and atriums which sits unused, when are we going to get some action by the government to deal with the courthouse facilities, particularly in Calgary, which are in scandalous disrepair and shortage?
Mr. Speaker, that's...
I'll send that hand to the Medicine Hat.
Mr. Speaker, the rhetoric and the innuendo from the honourable members, not his customary way of conducting himself. I can assure the honourable member that the courthouse in Drumheller, which was completed in 1983, and the courthouse in Medicine Hat, which was completed in 1986, were both needed and are both being used. Calgary is an exception. We, in fact, have underway in our planning process in Public Works a process that will add another 7 courtrooms to the family courts. But you don't do those overnight. But we also have to take very, very good analysis as to why we're having the increase in the young offenders. Are the police picking up people more on different kinds of charges? Is the Young Offender Act itself not working the way it should, which I think is definitely one of the situations? But that analysis is underway, and once we have the details, I can assure the honourable member and the people of Calgary that the problem will be solved.
Thanks, Joe.
The honourable member for Smoky River.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This past weekend, I've had the opportunity of meeting with 3 different groups who shared their concern about the adequately meeting the health care needs of rural Alberta. And I can certainly share their concerns. I represent a constituency of over 20,000 people that have 4 doctors. All 4 have come from have been educated outside of Canada. Their concern basically is the fact that local doctors will not service rural Alberta, and we seem to no longer be able to access doctors who have been trained in other countries. And my question is to the Minister of Health. Could she perhaps give us some insight as to just how this situation has developed and where we're at the moment?
Mr. Speaker, it's coincidental that the honourable member was meeting this weekend, because I too was addressing the conference on rural health care in Drumheller over the weekend to deal with exactly the issue that the honourable member raises. Certainly the issue of licensing requirements for foreign trained physicians is one part of the larger issue of the supply and the distribution of physician manpower throughout the province in order that we can provide necessary medical services to all Albertans. We've discussed on several occasions the responsibility of the fact that the licensing of physicians has been delegated by legislation to the College of Physicians and Surgeons, and I've indicated that my first interest is to ensure that the licensing process is fair. As members may recall, the Human Rights Commission reviewed the licensing process of the college and found that the process of licensing foreign trained physicians was in fact discriminatory, because there was preferential treatment being given to some foreign trained physicians because of their country of origin. So I believe the college responded appropriately when they recommended to the Lieutenant Governor and Council that changes in their bylaws make the process fundamentally fair. However, the issue is not just one of fairness, as we well know, because the needs have to be assessed to ensure adequate physician manpower supply in rural Alberta. And the special register that the college has maintained has been very helpful as a source of physicians to some rural communities.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. My concern still centers around adequately meeting the needs of the rural constituents. And so my next question is to the Minister. What is it that you are planning to do? What changes do you foresee that may alleviate the present circumstances and the conditions that we are caught up in at the present time?
Well, Mr. Speaker, we have one component of the package, that is the assessment that the procedure will now be fair to all physicians in Alberta. But I want to assure Albertans and this House that I will not be proceeding with the bylaw changes recommended by the college until I'm in a position to implement a package of initiatives that I believe are going to result in a better distribution of physicians throughout the province. Our challenge is clearly one of distribution, not of supply. Therefore, I currently have a task force on rural physician manpower, which includes the 2 deans of medicine in our province, as well the Council of Teaching Hospitals and the Rural Healthcare Association. And I anticipate their recommendations to me in June. And managing the transition between the current system and any new initiatives that we will undertake is going to be very important to prevent any disruption of the delivery of health services in rural Alberta.
Mr. Speaker, it took almost 2 months of persistent questioning by the official opposition to get the Minister of Agriculture to agree to participate in a joint federal-provincial program designed...
That's right. It was designed there. You were sitting on your ass. You were doing nothing. You were doing nothing over there.
A program designed to put new money...
That's right there. You're absolutely right there.
Designed to put new money on the table to address the real income problems.
You hit a nerve.
Honorable members, please, could we have some order? We were making pretty good headway in this question period. Honorable member for Vegreville.
Order. This program is designed, Mr. Speaker, to put new money on the table to address the real income problems that are confronted by Alberta farmers in the 1990s. Now, the Minister of Agriculture has been around long enough. He should know that the $35 million that he used and that the federal Minister of Agriculture accepted as part of Alberta's portion represents nothing more than an offloading of federal government responsibility for funding crop insurance premiums. It doesn't put new money on the table to address the real income needs of farmers.
That's right.
And I'd like to ask the Minister of Agriculture how he justifies including that bogus figure in our share of the money when he recognizes it doesn't put a penny of new money in the pockets of farmers in the province of Alberta.
What a shame.
Mr. Speaker, the last time I checked, that $35.1 million was coming out of the budget presented to this House and was Alberta taxpayer money. And I think the honourable member should know that the agreement to cost-share crop insurance was done to get certain improvements to that insurance. If we'd have sat back and let the producer pay the full increased cost, now they'd be worse off at their bottom line. I think the agreement that although we got recognized for a number of programs that this government is doing to help the bottom line, still did not recognize a number of other programs that our farmers certainly are aware of and appreciate.
Mr. Speaker, the $35 million does not put one penny into the pockets of farmers in the province of Alberta in the form of new money. The minister knows that.
Right.
And I'd like to ask him if he will agree to reinstate the 2 cent a litre benefit taken from farmers in the provincial treasurer's March 22nd budget, recognizing that that would put $20 million of direct assistance into the pockets of the farmers who need it most, those in the grain and oilseed sector, without them having to apply and without them having to wait.
Good.
Mr. Speaker, I think I again should remind the honourable member that there are new dollars in this year's budget. to cover the expanded lending in the Farm Credit Stability Program. That is certainly helping the farmer's bottom line. There is a Farm Credit Stability Program out there that is currently shielding at the 9% rate $2.3 billion worth of agricultural debt in this province. There is another big program through the Ag Development Corporation shielding interest rates at 9% and 6% for over $1.1 billion. There is the best fuel rebate program that you will find in Canada. There is the best fertilizer rebate program that you will find in Canada, and the honourable member knows very well that his farmers know and appreciate those programs. And if he wishes to debate with me in the Vegreville constituency, all he has to do is invite me out.
Good answer. Now, member for Calgary Forest Lawn.
Yesterday, in response to my questions, the Solicitor General talked about rationalization, and that's his word, retail liquor sales. And I'm sure that the people of rural Alberta would be interested in knowing which ALCB outlets are on his hit list. However, today I'd like to ask about Phase 3. Phase 3 of the Solicitor General's scheme to privatize liquor stores would see hotels in larger communities extend their off sales to hard liquor. So my questions to the Solicitor General, Mr. Speaker. Could the Minister tell the Legislature why this change is needed when these communities are already served by ALCB outlets with extended hours?
That's right.
In many of those areas, Mr. Speaker, the stores that are there, in fact, are not open 6 days a week in any case. And we feel that it is where we are dealing with one set of hotels by population, it may not, in fact, be entirely fair to all of the other hotels, and for that reason we are making it available right across the province.
Well, Mr. Speaker, there's a fundamental difference between being able to purchase and consume liquor in a hotel room, as the Minister suggested the other day, and driving around in the middle of the night to buy a bottle of hard liquor. I'm not concerned about the bar keys, Mr. Speaker. I'm concerned about the car keys. So the Solicitor General, why is the Minister so concerned about propping up... Mr. Speaker, why is the Minister so concerned about propping up hotel liquor sales that so concerned that he'd like to see people buying hard liquor at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, that's right. But they're thirsty.
Mr. Speaker, again, the honourable member makes an assumption that, to my knowledge, is going to be incorrect. At 2 o'clock in the morning, possibly the honourable member will advise me what hotels are going to be selling at 2 o'clock in the morning so that I can do something about it, because that's not the intent at all, and that time will be developed. I feel, Mr. Speaker, that in all probability the greater concern is the fear of lost jobs to members of the Alberta Union of Public Employees. And I wish to advise the House, Mr. Chairman, thank you, honourable member, but I had a good meeting with the President, Mrs. Wachnitz of AUPE yesterday, who does her very best to lead this union at in these more difficult times. She and 2 other members of her executive, one from Local 50 of the ALCB employees, as well as one other executive, and I felt that she made put forward a very strong position, as was expected by her, on behalf of Local 50 members, and it was my assurance to her that we, in fact, are not intending on privatizing the whole of this industry, and that wasn't the intent when we brought about this new policy. We are trying to catch up with the rest of Western Canada, and in fact Canada, Mr. Speaker, because what we are putting in is still less restrictive than what occurs in British Columbia, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Ontario.
Order, please. The chair had some indication that there might be requests to revert for the introduction of special guests, but some members have sent notes saying that their people have left because of the delay in getting on to oral question period today. Is there anybody who desires to do that? Well, before calling the orders of the day, I'd just remind members that we backslid one question today. We were making good headway, but something happened, and hope that we can get back to yesterday's production tomorrow. Point of order? Is there a point? No, I think he has, the honourable member for Calgary-Milliken has withdrawn his point of order. Orders of the day.
Government bills and orders for second reading. Bill number 19, adjourned debate. Mrs. Osterman.
The honourable member for Strathcona.